can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
I'm not sure that there's enough hours in the day to discuss just the life of Wayne Carey and me just trailing behind, picking up the pieces. But could I just quickly say before I start, we announced last week we thought it would be a great idea to have a Green Armband Day to help the farmers down in the Western District in Australia. And as a consequence of that, Essendon and Geelong, I think, are going to play on Saturday at 4 o'clock, and we're
I'm going to that game.
Well, they'll be delighted that
Do you want to be my guest?
Well,
in a box?
In a box. If I can, I might keep at arm's length in case there's a fracas. I don't have to make another statement to the paper.
Do you want to come along as my guest on Saturday afternoon?
I'll just see how I'm travelling with the leg.
Oh, with the leg, okay.
The great Geelong Football Club and the great Essendon Football Club, Kevin Sheedy has inspired Essendon, and we have asked Geelong to be part of it. So we think there's going to be a Green Armband Day between Essendon and Geelong on
Saturday afternoon.
So that's why I'm wearing this. So now.
And by the way, what a worthy cause. Just back over what the farmers are doing it tough. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of, and dare I say, we don't like to say it.
They're almost
a lot of suicides and a lot of people just going through really, really, really tough times. So, Sam, everyone talks about the stuff that we don't get quite right, or we get involved with that gets blown out of proportion.
We don't want people to start thinking that we're good people.
No,
we revel in the fact that how now.
You haven't asked why I'm wearing this.
Well, I was just getting onto this first. This was about the Green Armband, and what's this? The metrosexual look, Is this try and
softening look?
Is it? Is this an LGB? What is this?
It's the soften look.
The soften look.
Yeah, so
you become
just softened. The college.
So, Duck, let's just do it in order.
In order. What order?
In order.
So many things.
I see that you had a scuffle with someone after this man pushed you. This made the papers, and also there was a video going around which I said to the bloke we're with, Dylan. I said, mate, why don't you offer this to the media for 20 grand or something, and we can all go out and have a drink on it. You've got the exclusive footage. He said, oh no, he said other people have filmed it as well, which is very good that they did, because they saw that you were quite restrained, and I can tell everyone that you have received an apology from the person, have you not?
I have received an apology.
You do it from here. The main
thing out of all of this, Sam, and once again, it's just another example of things getting blown out of proportion. The reports were late night fracas. It was 7 p.m. I don't call that a late night fracas. That's dinner time.
I was with you before that.
Yeah,
I went home because it was late for me.
Yeah, it was late for you. Yeah, you tucked up in bed by then, but it was only 7 p.m. or 7:30 or something like that. So it wasn't a late night fracas. This has happened a couple of times. The same person has since apologised to not only myself but also my part Jess and other people that he involved in that night. So there was a lot of things that went. There were text messages and stuff. So
let's hope that's reported.
Well, it doesn't. I don't want it to be reported. There was a reason why they blank out the face of the other person, and there's a reason why they don't let people know what that person is saying. Is because it's to protect their identity. Unfortunately, in our position, just because we kicked the ball a little bit better than other people, it's okay for us for them to run with a story like a late night fracas or whatever the headline was. The simple facts are we've got someone that has admitted that they've got some issues. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and sit here and throw and hang him out to dry. What I am going to say is he's put the first step forward. He's sent a message to myself and Jess, apologising not only for this time but for another time, and he has said he's got some stuff to deal with, and I appreciate more than ever someone that then owns what has happened. Okay, so he doesn't have to deal with the media that it's caused and what it's caused to my kids and
yes.
and everything else. And once again, it's water off a duck's back for me.
Duck's back.
But how it affects. Well, it affects Jess. It affects
does.
Steph. It affects all the kids. It affects a lot of people in the community. A lot of different things. All that I will say is that I want this particular. He will go and he'll seek the help that he needs, and
Maybe
let's hope that he does, and we all move on. And
Maybe
I'm not judgmental of him. And when I see him, when I see him, I'll go up and I'll
smack him in the mouth again.
I'll shake his hand and I'll say,
Will
you
you?
know what? Thank you for the apology. Apology accepted, and we all move on.
Oh,
that's
don't be
that's
weak.
the way I would.
Weak as piss.
How is that weak?
Oh,
that's
come on.
that's what a real man does, and a real man owns his mistakes, and this man has owned it. We move
Hey,
on.
don't lay it on too thick.
It's true.
Well
it's true.
done,
I'd
no.
be a hypocrite if I was to sit here and go, "Oh, he did this, and I'm the victim."
No, I know, Wayne.
I'm no victim.
Why don't you co-join him with Tess, the life coach, and see if you can both get some management?
I think you could get some hell of a lot of benefit out of Tess as well. But
Me? What have I done?
If I sent everyone that needed Tess. By the way, all of those people out there that get Tess mixed up with Jess.
I know.
Tess is my life coach. Jess is my partner.
Yes.
So they're two very different people.
The amount of people on the social media who said after they saw the fracas, they said, "Where was Tess? What's happened to Tess?" It's fantastic.
Well, believe it or not, it's because of seeing and speaking to someone like Tess is the reason why it ended up the way it did. And if it was at 11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock at night, then them reporting it like a late night fracas, because at the end of the day, nothing good happens after probably 11 or 12 o'clock at night, does it? When you're out and about,
I don't know. I've been out for that long.
No, but this is what I'm talking about. So when it's at dinner time, then it's a very different. We're right in the middle of eating meals and everything else. So I'm
relaxed.
Like I said, I've accepted the apology. I've moved on.
Well done.
And we
It's just
the sun comes up tomorrow.
Another chapter in the rehabilitation of the duck. It's extraordinary.
Well-
Don't go on about it. People start to think you're as weak as piss shortly. And now, then, Duck, we've hit the headlines again. We were asked. I love this.
Well,
No,
we weren't. You were. You asked me.
No, I did. I was asked. Peter Jones, Bombora Jones, who's down at Bowen Heads, said, "Would you come down and speak at a function before I don't know, some Bowen Heads Football Club or something at the hotel?" And I said, "Well, I had to coax you into doing it." And you said, "Oh, all right, okay." They were so excited, and still are, incidentally, so excited and nice and pissed off. Anyhow, we get a text. I get one. So it's been cancelled. There's a dispute between the club and I said, "Is that because the Duck and I are speaking?" He said, "Not at all, no." And then the text came and said, "I've made some inquiries," Bombora Jones said. "It's that there's people have pushed back on the fact that you two are coming." And I said, "And here's the thing, we don't give a fuck if we go and speak at any function. I get asked a lot of times to speak. It's the weak, feckless, insipid people who run those clubs who are controlled by
the
some
way,
activists."
Probably got more stuff in the closet than you or I.
Absolutely, I was going to say that.
Those people who judge the harshest generally have more to hide than most.
Anyhow, this has
I'm
happened
wrapped,
to me.
by the way, you had to talk me into it, and you actually got me on the rosé.
Yes,
I was
I did.
halfway through a nice rosé. When was that? Well, last Thursday, when you actually said, "Can you please?"
Yes.
And you got me at a weak moment, and I said, "Yes, I'll
Yep,
come down."
I know.
So you can't get cancelled from a gig that wasn't a gig.
No, and we were doing it for charity.
As a
We were
favour.
doing it as a favour. That's not the point.
I'm glad because I can now go away
No,
for a
it's
couple
more.
of days.
I got cancelled in Perth when I went over there. I went over, did 6 functions, and got the 7th cancelled by the weak, feckless, piss-weak committee who just live their lives vicariously
like I
through pulling their dicks.
Like I said,
And they should say, "No, I know someone."
There is a lot of once again, and the more and functions I go to, I talk about you speak about having a life coach and doing things and talking about things, Sam, but talking about things that your life story, and people want to hear about how you got through the other side, how you played footy, how you came from Wagga, all of those different stories, and then where you sit today. Rather than talk about things that happened, we're not. But rather than things have happened 25 years ago, and then you find, and when you do find out that there are people that were terribly upset, you don't do a little bit of digging, but people come up to you from that event and they will say, oh, Joe Blow over there and Billy Boggs over there and Paddy Panther over there. I'll tell you what, if you knew a little bit about their history, and it's amazing. Those who judge, and it is a common thing. It's a bit like those people that talk about money generally don't have any. Those people that say they're tough generally aren't tough. It is one of the truisms of life.
So I know someone who was asked to speak at a function, at a sporting function, and that he was engaged. It was a he. He was engaged. And
engaged to be married, or
no? He was engaged to speak at the function, and the the sporting team that was to play the team that he was to speak at said that if this person speaks at the function, they will forfeit the game, and the committee, to their great credit, said, you forfeit the game, that'll be fine. Give us the 4 points. This man is speaking at our function and that's it. And do you know what happened? The side who said they'd forfeit turned up. I don't know if they won or not, but everything... do you know who that person was?
No.
No, well, I won't say who it was unless you want to know. You would know who that person is.
Yep.
And that is what we need at the top levels of people who run functions. Have the guts, have the intestinal fortitude. If you make a decision, do your due diligence, ask round before you accept and put it on a flyer. Wayne Carey, Sam Newman, Fatty Boomba, they're coming to speak. Is everyone okay with that? And when there's no pushback until it gets to the final week or something, you say, stiff shit, you had your chance, they're coming. And I'll tell you what, if anyone could be offended at what I say at a function, I'm very happy to say, I'd say some controversial things, but 95% of the community agree with them. Welcome to Country's one and trans men in sport is another. In women's sport, they're the only two things that you could possibly take any exception to. And if anyone can take exception to what you say about your...
Mine's probably not controversial. Mine's probably not as... my talks are generally around not so much...
No, but yours is reputational,
sort of
that's
yes,
all.
Yes,
and
yes.
it is cringeworthy. So anyhow, so we've covered that.
Yes, okay. They're the big ones. We're away. How long? We got through that in 13 minutes.
No, it said we were. So Fiona Byrne wrote it up and did a very good job. I spoke to her.
I didn't see Fiona. What did she write?
It was in the second page of the paper today. It says sensationally blocked. That was the headline. Wayne and Sam sensationally blocked at the Bowen Heads. Bombora Jones has gone into a meltdown. He said the whole town and the whole precinct have gone in. They're weeping because they wanted the duck to come down and speak just
well,
to
I'm sure
the...
they wanted you to speak down there more than me, but I'm
sure they didn't.
Like I said, you can't be blocked from something that wasn't.
Anyhow, you're as weak as piss, the Bowenheads Football Club. If that's you, that you would take note of people who activate.
It's given me the day. You had to talk me into it. It's now given me the day off, which I'm very, very happy about.
Do you think now? I taped it. I only watched Gary Lyons speak at the Hall of Fame, who was fantastic. I was just wondering if we had accepted, not together, but if we had accepted.
I thought you'd gone. I thought I heard him say Sam. Did you go or not?
No, I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go.
No, he just said that he's worked with Sam and James Brayshaw. And
was JB there?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Why wasn't JB there?
Well, he's not he wouldn't get invited, would he? Because he's
Gary,
not a legend.
Gary can invite 20 guests.
Well, he invited his family and people he'd played football with.
Yeah, but I thought him and JB and you would have got invited, given your work with him.
I'm a bit pissed off he didn't invite me.
Yeah.
No, he spoke great. He was great.
And I watched it this morning, by the way. I got up at 5:30 a.m. and got up and watched all the speeches because
you?
that's one of, I did. I watched every
you?
watched and listened to every
Wow,
speech. Because that's commitment to the podcast,
Yeah,
so we
wow,
can come
is
on
that
here and talk about it.
Well, I can only talk about Gary's speech. I didn't watch any others. So
Well, I did.
What happens if it's
Luke Hodge was a very,
Do you
very
think? Do you
worthy
think we
inductee.
would have been? Maybe we might have been banned if we'd accepted going to the Hall of Fame. They say, "Oh no, we don't want those people in the room." What do you think?
I don't think so.
You don't? You think we'd get in?
Yeah,
I go to the door. Say, sorry. Look, Andrew Dillon has said that you're not. You don't.
No,
you don't.
Just on the night, we've spoken about this before. I know you've been.
You don't meet our
How many
values.
have you been to? How many have you been to? Hall of Fames. I've been to a few.
Have you?
Actually, probably two. One when I got inducted, and one more.
Yeah, well, I've been when I got inducted.
Yeah. So
Haven't been to
I
anymore.
enjoyed, and when all the inductees get up and speak, and the first thing they say is you do stand in awe in that room. There's no question about that. You look across and there's equals everywhere, and you do. And you've got heroes, those who went before you. You've got those that you played against, and then the new inductees, which obviously happened
Girls
last night.
this time.
Yes, Erin Phillips, who was, what an unbelievable story she was. You know, obviously her dad. Would you played a little bit against her dad, Greg, or not?
Greg
Phillips.
Absolutely. When did he play?
Well, he was at Collingwood, so he was
In the 70s?
Yeah, it might have been 8. Yeah, I just thought you might have caught the end of,
Might have.
Yeah, sort of end of yours, start of his. But he was an unbelievable. He was just a bull of a man, centre half back. You know, played in I think 6 or 7 premierships.
I think
at
Gary
Port
said
Adelaide.
he played on him. He said he was the biggest man.
Yes, he did.
Put the fear of Christ into him.
Luke Hodge got inducted. Obviously, was always going to 4-time premiership player, 3-time premiership captain, all of that. 2 Norm Smiths. Nick Rewalt, was going to be inducted a couple of years ago. He finally got inducted last night.
Daisy.
Spoke very well. Daisy Pearce. And I will say this. I thought Daisy and Erin, and I'm not saying this to be, as you would say, politically correct. I thought the girls spoke the best out of everyone there.
Well, I didn't. I only saw Gary speak.
I thought the way they, because there was genuine passion in the fact that these girls grew up playing football as young girls, and then got told you can't play footy anymore, and their true passion was to play football. So Erin obviously went off and did things in America, and then eventually comes back and plays for the Crows, and then her beloved Port Adelaide Footy Club, and more the number one, just like her dad. So. And Daisy, thinking that there wasn't a pathway through, and then found out there was, and caught a bus every day. But just to talk about being, and there were pioneers before them, but just to talk about their journey, and the reason why I say this, because, and I know you're not a fan of the actual game itself, Sam, at the highest level. You've made that clear. You said you don't love the standard of the game.
Which game?
You said that AFL Women's.
Women's?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the AFL at the minute.
There you go. You haven't been, you've been pretty strong on that as well.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the pathway now, young girls have a full pathway from juniors all the way to play AFL, which is amazing. And when you hear their stories and what they had to go through, and then invariably, both be premiership players, et cetera, I thought they were brilliant.
So some people said, if this is the AFL, the Australian Football League, how come women are being inducted? But it's not the AFL, it's what is it called, Sue? It's called... It's the
Australian Football Hall of Fame.
Yes, Australial Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Well, it's not specifically male oriented.
No.
It is the Australian Football
Correct.
Hall of
and there's
Fame.
umpires also in the Hall of Fame.
That is that's why women are rightfully inducted.
Yep. So they now create a pathway, and they've created a pathway. And I thought the way Daisy finished her speech, Daisy Pearce, that is, Sam, finished her speech in saying her and Erin were up there obviously getting their awards on that night, and people see them as the pioneers, but there were many women before them that did the hard work, and she didn't want them to be forgotten. So I just thought the way she ended that was
So you've watched
incredibly
a lot,
well.
have you?
I watched
well
all
done.
of the speech. I fast forwarded through the.
Oh, did you?
You know what? I fast forward through the questions that Jared is
Yes.
asking, and that's no disrespect
No,
to Jared.
none.
That is because they're just the Dorothy Dix.
Yes.
They're, you know,
Cherry-picked
you're talking about
questions.
their career. I fast forwarded to when they thank the people that help them
Yes.
make it to the top level, and when they're speaking from the heart, and they all spoke very, very
So
well.
you reckon we would have been allowed in had we accepted Hall of Fame? We could have been to table up the back somewhere.
well-
Table number 89 up the back.
well, if
oh,
they-
there's the Duck and Sam up the back there. Well done, they're Hall of Famers.
Well, so anyway, all in all, I thought it was a good bunch of inductees actually.
Very good bunch. I only saw one of them.
And what's his first name? Farmer, North Adelaide great.
Yes,
North
yep,
Adelaide great. Got inducted as a legend.
Yes, a legend.
A legend.
Did he?
He got elevated to legend status.
Wow.
North Adelaide.
Two farmers.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
Two farmers.
And you've got them black and white too.
Hey, yes.
You've got them black and white.
Yep. So, all in all, I thought it was a really, really, it was a good night. for
Salubrious
inductees.
night.
Salubrious night.
Everyone
I like that word.
pressing the flesh and falling over one another and dribbling
Big,
on.
You know, big Jace was there, Piggy was there. He got a couple of mentions, so he was he was fluffed up.
Dipper got some mentions because he kept shouting out, didn't he?
Yeah.
He
Dipper
shouted out while Gary was speaking anyhow.
Yeah.
That's how to get a mention.
Dipper, but Dipper loves. You know what? Dipper's the last person that got me to a Hall of Fame.
Is he?
He is. Why? Because
He said, "Come along,
We
Duck.
were at a.
You make me look good.
No, we were at an event, and we spoke about the Hall of Fame, and he said, "Mate, you got to come, make the effort, get there." And that particular year, I went because he said, "You've got to come, celebrate."
Why don't we write it down next
well, we
year
should
in
go
case
next
we
year.
get invited?
We'll go next year.
And we'll just we'll kit up and we'll get there. And if we're barred at the door, you can let yourself go. I'll say go, and you just knock out about 8 or 9 on the way through.
I'll talk my way out of it.
You will too. You'll be the now.
You still look at you. You look good in that jumper.
So speak what?
You look good in the jumper still.
Yeah, it's
Hey?
a kid's jumper.
Do you like when you put it on? Do you feel feel good?
Yeah, no. Well, I'm a bit like
If you
Gary. Gary said that's all I ever wanted to do was play football. Ever when I was at school.
And be a
Hairdressing
salon.
No, all I wanted to do is play football, and it is, and so I was going to say, I watched. I thought there was a sign that the game has turned. I thought the Melbourne Collingwood game was excellent. I know there's and Maxi Gawn. How could that be a media beat up that the captain, Mr. May, Stephen May, said,
Maisie.
"Why did you kick that there for Max?" He was just frustrated at the time. Max did a couple of clangers, but he was great.
Yeah, I think it's come out that he's Stephen May just said, did you think there was only 10 seconds to go?
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
But probably not the greatest timing.
No, it
Max
wasn't.
Max being the great captain that he is, has taken a little bit of it as ownership, and not little. He's taken a little bit on and owned a little bit of it, and said he probably shouldn't have.
He was embarrassed
pushed
what he
him
did.
away. That's another storm in a teacup. But this is the fascination that this country has with. Doesn't matter what you do.
Could you please tell me?
Wouldn't want to put the beer in the wrong esky.
Could you please tell me? I watched the game. There was a couple of 50-metre penalties because people didn't stand bolt
Oh, it was
upright on the
terrible.
mark.
No feel for the game, the umpires.
No, they didn't go over the mark.
No,
they
they
actually
went
went
back.
back from the
Spot
mark,
on.
and the bloke said,
Horrendous
that
decisions.
that is so cringeworthy that people would come from overseas and say, what is that? Say, oh, he didn't stand still.
Sam-
You say, stand still? Are you serious?
And if you watch all the games this weekend, which you won't, but if you do, you'll see that happen 20 times a game and they don't pay it. And then in a game like that, when you've got this unbelievable contest in front of 80,000 people and you've got the umpire trying to say, look at me, they were terrible. The Cosy Pickett one where he had the ball in his hand and he didn't throw it back to Dacos. That for me, given that it wasn't time wasting, he didn't really, and then he sort of realised, yes, technically it was a 50, but I think if the umpire had any feel for
pick it up and give it to him now.
Correct. And if there was any feel for the game, they would have let that one go as well.
They're so pedantic and they're so keen on it. That's what annoys you about the game. Is not. I tell you. The game is not a patch on what it used to be. I don't care what anyone says, and I don't reckon the players are a patch on what they used to be. No, but that's not the players' fault. That's the way the game's played. It is. If you watch Gary Lyons' highlights, I know they're highlights, and you wouldn't pick many highlights out of a game played these days, but. The game was just played differently.
No, if you watch a game if someone wants to see where our game's going, and it's going towards Gaelic football.
Exactly, Wayne.
That's what it's going towards.
Wayne, when I'm
we're
serious,
getting closer.
I call you Wayne.
Yeah, we're getting. Mum used to whenever I was in trouble, I got called Wayne. So
no, you're quite right. It's almost become non-contact.
It is
fiddly.
It is, but they wanted to fasten it up, and it's still the best game in the world tonight. And you heard Nick Rewalt say that last night. It is a different game. It is still the best game. It is still a physical game.
But that's
it's a physical game because of how far you have to run, how quick the game is, and there is contact.
The rugby
and you do
people
get knocked
say
down,
theirs is the best game. The soccer people say theirs is the best game. It's
ours. I tell you what we can't. I tell you what we can no longer say. And once upon a time you could, we can no longer say that we compare to rugby in terms of the physicality of the game.
No, we cannot say that.
We can't say that.
No.
Once upon a time you could. And the argument was, Sam, that we could get hit from in front, from behind, on the side. Like you had to have eyes in the back of your head, of which obviously you don't. So that was the difference between rugby league and AFL. We can no longer say our game is as physical. Our game, I still think our game is obviously way more skillful than rugby league. Rugby league, you run forward and pass it backwards.
They're very skillful, those boys, the rugby boys.
Come on. In what way?
Well,
some of them have
run like the wind. They're very fit. They're very tough.
That's not a skill. Running like the wind isn't a skill with a ball. They have become more skillful, so now they're taking They're kicking the ball. They're kicking the ball better than ever. They catch the ball better than. I say catch the ball, not mark the ball, because they play rugby, not AFL. So they catch the ball better than ever before. So yes, they do have skills, but if you put it this way, if you were a little kid, this is how I try to compare it. If you're a little kid and I always use Carter as an example. He's a 6-year-old, and I'm saying, I'm teaching you AFL, I'm teaching you rugby league, and I'm teaching you soccer.
Yep.
Right now, he could run forward and pass the ball backwards without a problem, and he can catch it and run forward. Soccer, he can pass it from there to there. He can run, he can dribble, and he can do that. If you kick the ball to him and ask him to mark it, it is more difficult than a little throw because the ball has to travel a further distance. So to mark the ball is more difficult. To handball is more difficult than it is to throw it. And to kick the ball rather than place kick the ball is way more difficult as well. So our game is more difficult to teach, and therefore it is.
If you're saying that the skills today in AFL of chipping the ball over there and then chipping it back and then kicking it there, not kicking to a contest, they religiously don't kick to a contest. There's very few high marks taken in packs. The game skills have degenerated into a mishmash of a rolling scrum, and sometimes sides break out of the pack and chip it in and it
Well,
goes in.
You're great. You're the great Polly Farmer, who people say is the pioneer of the handball.
Yes, offensive handball.
Yeah, to that degree. Well, now Sam, if you're there, rather than do that, which is a left-handed handball, they do that.
Yeah,
That's the
correct.
modern day player.
Yes.
You're there
That's
and
a-
you run to that side.
Almost
and
a throw.
I'd kick on my left foot.
Yes.
To kick to you. They now kick a banana kick. Sam.
Sorry, I'm sorry. That's the girl, Elise May, about the. I'm on a podcast, Elise. I'm going to have to ring you back, doll.
Kevin can't make it. That's what we heard.
Kevin Sheedy can't make the. No, it doesn't matter.
Well, you've got all dressed up for nothing.
Maybe I've been cancelled. I've been cancelled. So no, Wayne. So you're just amplifying what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, they can't kick. They can't kick on their opposite side anywhere near what they once could, and they can't handball on their left hand like they once
So
could.
what are you saying? I'm saying the game has degenerated into...
And what they get away with the handball, this and
Yeah.
that and that and that. We would have got called for a throw.
Well,
What
So
you get
why
a free,
don't the
what you
umpires-
get a free kick for now in the forward line, we would have once been let go. So the rules have changed. The game has evolved.
It hasn't evolved.
It's evolved into Gaelic footy.
yeah, it's evolved into...
A lot like Gaelic footy.
I don't like to knock... I'm very happy to knock the game if it's...
I'm knocking the
I'm
game. saying it's the best game in the world. I'm just saying it's evolved.
It's evolved into... It's degraded.
You've evolved.
What?
You've evolved.
You've evolved. Christ, you've evolved into a fucking priest. You're like padre. Jesus, you'll be in a confessional box taking confession shortly.
No, I'm just not judgmental.
Well, it's good to be judgmental.
No, it's not.
So tell me this: if you were, I've been on this for years. If you were a coach, I'd instruct. Never leave your man, if you actually had a man to mind, which no one has a man to mind these days, never leave your man to go and tackle someone else's. Because that's how the play-on game evolves. It starts because you run at someone, you leave your man, they automatically hand pass it over your head. The bloke down the ground runs at the guy who's got it, they chip it over to the guy that he left. Wouldn't you let someone run until they actually end up running up their own backside?
No, I think that part of defending, the great defenders always knew when to leave their man. But when they left their man, they impacted the contest. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
So you look, there was a great example of it, and it saved Collingwood the game. Melbourne were out. Cosy Pickett was out. They just had to put the ball into space. They kicked the ball to space. Jeremy Howe left his man, came across, spoiled the ball. Invariably, Collingwood took the ball away. That saved the game because Jeremy Howe read the play and left his man to impact the contest. So if you're leaving your man... And so to agree with you, to agree with you to this point, if you're leaving your man and you can't impact the contest or get to him to put extreme pressure on, so he can't get the ball over the top with
as a
ease,
last resort.
if you get caught in no man's land, as they say, then you're exactly right. But that's just the defender or the midfielder or whoever it may be in that situation, just not reading the play quite right.
Quite right, Doug.
Quite right. But if you can leave your man and get there to put the amount of pressure on, so then the person behind that person can get up to your man, then that's what they try to do.
You should be doing special comments on the... Oh, no, that's right, you've been cancelled. Along with me. So here's another one. What about this? It's not so prevalent these days, although if we keep playing games up in Ballarat and... Where did they play another game? Bundaberg. Where did they?
Bunbury.
Holy shit!
Bunbury's a good part of the world.
Oh, it's a fantastic part of the world for AFL football.
But hey, probably.
Oh,
not
God
for
almighty,
AFL
it's
footy.
like playing out in the bloody country with the
I've been
cars
to
coming
I've
around
been
the
to
boundary
Bunbury a
line,
few
sitting
times.
in the cars watching
I've
it.
been to Bunbury a few times.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Speaking at the engagements, one of the few places I haven't been cancelled at.
It's a nice part of
It's
the world.
a fantastic part.
Got a couple of sort of acquaintances, friends.
So
that
if you're
way.
going to play in those
Got a mate in
open...
jail in there down in Bunbury as well.
What?
Mate of mine doing a little bit of time in jail.
Oh,
at
is
Bunbury.
he a friend of your dad's?
Yeah. No, a friend of mine.
Oh, I
actually.
see. So if you're going to play in these open
Friend
air
of your dad's.
open air stadiums like down at Tassie or Bunbury or Carrara or wherever, what about this? Never play on into the wind. If you've got a gale blowing at you, you want to try and make the quarter go as quickly as possible by not playing on. Hold the ball, chip it back,
Well,
and
some
then
would say and then there's a philosophy of run it into the wind. Don't
No,
don't
why?
try to kick it, but run it through. Well, no, you don't necessarily.
three
have to.
kicks will be turned round by someone getting it with the wind and roosting it back over your head. Just try and hold the ball until it's your turn with the wind, and then go for
A
it.
lot of people don't like windy conditions. I didn't mind the wind and the rain. It's the measure. It's a good measurer, I reckon, of whether you really can
any skill.
read the game well or not.
See, the players today don't know how to handle it.
I had a mate. I went down and watched a mate in the wind one day. He was playing for Mooney Ponds. I think it was Mooney Ponds or Oak Park or one of those, and it was blowing a gale. And he was going with the wind, and he was leading. He was leading like he was Tony Lockett and Jason Dunstall combined. The ball just kept floating
that's
over
it.
his head.
That's right.
I'm going, mate. You don't that ball. And if they did hit you, it would be going an extra 50 kilometres
Break
an
your
hour.
ribs.
It'd break exactly.
So the boys go out to Marvel Stadium. If it starts to rain, they pull the roof over. Oh no, we don't want to get wet. They have little umbrellas. Come on,
Isn't it?
Nah, the game's
when you
gone to the
think about
dogs.
the compromised draw, the game is compromised in a lot of ways. We don't play each other twice, and we play the weaker side. So the
Three
draw,
sides have got
the,
buys
the
this
war-
week.
So the draw is a big thing in our game. And then when you talk about percentages, there's been years in the last few where sides have missed out on the top 8 by 0.2 of a percentage. And then if that team had played 2 more games at Marvel Stadium, then the chances are their percentage is going to be a bit higher if they're not playing in the conditions.
I've said this for 20 years, Wayne. We are a dinky little sport at the bottom of a dinky little country. We are. We're a dinky little
He's
sport.
a beautiful boy. He's a big boy, isn't he?
What? That's my son.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He is a dinky little. We got a dinky little sport,
It's
mate.
not a dinky little.
It is. We don't play each other twice. We manufacture the rules. It's in chaos. The umpiring is in chaos.
Yeah.
The game it is a dinky little. We're playing on.
I think our sport has always been one that has lived in the grey. It has lived in the grey. It's grey in draws, grey in a lot of different
50
manners.
shades of grey.
Off the ground, on the ground. A lot of the rules are grey. There's not a lot of black and white in our game, whereas most other games there is more black and white.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Soccer, pretty limited rules in soccer. You're offside or you're not.
Yeah.
Rugby, you've got to throw it back instead of forward. That's why our game is in chaos. That's why the umpiring fraternity is in turmoil.
Yeah, interpretation in our game which is the grey that I talk about on the ground, and then the grey off the ground is all of the compromised situations that, for whatever reason, we can't even up.
Sue, when am I speaking on the radio? What time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. I've got to speak on your behalf.
Why on my behalf?
On my behalf. I'm getting rung by the main man on the talk show, Tom Elliott. He's going to ask me about the Barwon Heads decision to drop us. And I'm delighted.
Tell him you can't get dropped if you weren't in the team.
No, I'll tell him that as soon as we can get some people on committees who have the courage of their conviction to say, fuck you, we're having these people.
Well, so we got a couple of minutes to go.
Now, so there was three things that they met. 2:30 is the grand final time, which is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or do you want it at night?
Look, I'm leaning to the only reason why I'm going to to have the game played at night, I think our audience will be quadrupled. Not quadrupled, doubled. The audience would be doubled.
The television audience.
Television audience, yes, would be doubled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what?
Well, it's if the players, and I'm all for the players, if the players want to continue to get paid big money, then double the audience and they'll continue to get paid the money they deserve to get.
Good.
So that's why.
So you'd opt for a night grand final.
I think I've never said this before publicly, but I now think it's time for that reason. Because we only have a certain amount of people in this country. The broadcasters can only pay a certain amount unless we go to more pay TV channels, and we end up on.
You could have a huge payday on grand final week. You could go to a breakfast and speak when you weren't cancelled. You could go to a lunch and speak. You could go to an early dinner and speak. You could have 3 functions before the game starts.
Well, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
5 days in a row.
But that's the reason. Like if you look at rugby and where they've gone at when they changed to that sort of night. Plus, and I know everyone will say, "What about the kids?" Well, it's grand final night, and guess what? It's Sunday. It's Sunday the next day. Stay up late. Who cares? Keep the kids up late. Watch the grand final. You got fireworks. You got all sorts of stuff.
Clowns.
But I think there's spectacular. The halftime entertainment, the before the game, the entertainment.
Fireworks.
You get. I don't know who's a big singer at the
Beyonce.
moment. No, you get Taylor Swift.
Who?
Tay-Tay.
Oh, Tay-Tay.
Get Taylor Swift here and get her to do the entertainment before under lights in front of 100,000 people.
Yeah, I said Beyonce.
With rather than 2.5, 3 million people watching, 6 million people watching because it's at night and people aren't out and about on a Saturday or sitting in front of a TV on a nice day.
Or pushing and shoving people at pubs just before dinner.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. So, and then now.
Yeah, and they'd let everyone get a gutful all day.
No, I'm just before I wind this up, I only say this. Could you believe that they've got a coach, they've got a committee, they've got a recruiter, they've got everyone down at Tasmania, but they've decided they can't get the ground and they can't make that work. How does that? Wouldn't you cross all those? Wouldn't you cross the T's and dot the I's before you did all that?
Yeah, well, I think they clearly thought that they had done that. It has. I think it'll happen, Sam. There's no way that they're not going to allow this to happen. What I would say to the people of Tasmania, Hobart in particular, because that's where that stadium is being built, I would say go to Adelaide and look what the Adelaide Oval has done for Adelaide since the Crows and Port have moved there. It has transformed that city.
They want to put a roof on it.
It has transformed that city into a much visited city. And people used to pot Adelaide all the time. Now they've gone there, they've watched the footy. People walk across. I mean, where that stadium's being built, I don't know whether you've been to Hobart and seen where it's going to be built. It's in a fantastic spot.
And
it'll bring hundreds of thousands of people. And I honestly believe, before I let you speak again, I honestly believe that Tasmania could be the only place that could take Gather Round off Adelaide. I think that they could actually hold it.
That.
No, when I say take it off them, but give them a break.
Gather round is where everyone comes into the centre.
And you could do it. You could do it in Tasmania. It's a short trip for everyone, other than the people.
Short trip.
So for most teams,
Brisbane to the longest trip you could ever have.
Talking about the majority of the teams. Just like Adelaide's a long trip for everywhere for those teams
they've set aside a new precinct down at the stadium for a disco, and do you know what they're going to call it?
What?
The Club Foot.
So they've got heaps of people.
Just a minute. This will be good. Hang on.
Hang up.
Hello? Right. Now, Duck, so we're just winding this up.
Sorry, Sam, I put you on hold. What were you saying?
No, I'm speaking to the Duck here. Yeah, so we're going to wind this up, Doug. You might like to speak to Tom Elliott. Hang on. We're just a minute. What am I doing, Sue? Pressing that?